Awesome, Mariah. Awesome.
Radio check, Robbie, Glenn. Awesome. All right, let's roll up those windows. Driver and passenger side, please. Alright, gentlemen, so again, you have Mariah on the radio. We'll be alongside with Rico for the rest of the day before our graduation. Hopefully you have some fun on that autocross competition. We're going to start with our last rotation of exercises. We'll do our last track session here, then we'll head back to the classroom for your garage talk and end the day with our launch control. That's one of my favorite parts, to be honest, is ending the day with launch control. So the most fun things to do in these cars. If you have never launched your car at all, you'll have a fun time doing it. And again, gentlemen, this is your last track session, so please make sure you keep it nice and precise, keep it clean, and keep those cars on track as well. It is getting hotter and hotter, so keep that in mind as well. We'll keep in mind of our tire pressures. Our max tire pressure should be about 32 psi out on the track. Anything above that, you're going to start to lose some grip from those front or rear tires. Drive your own comfortable pace. For this last track session, gentlemen, we only have 2 students here, so we'll get 5 laps in total. We will separate those, so we'll do 3 laps to begin with, and then 2 laps per person after that. Let's go ahead and click up on the drive toggles and then put the cars into manual mode, and gentlemen, follow me, please. Let's also make sure those hands are at 9 and 3, thumbs in the spokes. And also let's make sure we get rid of any distractions we may have at the moment before we enter the track. Alright, gentlemen, we're going to start off with a warm-up lap just like always. Let's go ahead and upshift those cars into 3rd gear on our entrance. This last track session, I'm not going to talk too much. This is your chance to kind of process everything at your own rate. That doesn't mean I'm not going to talk at all. We're still going to give you feedback throughout the session and also give you some good compliments along the way if you're doing things right as well. Just remember, gentlemen, for our turn 10, right behind us here, it's really important to work on your turn-in point there. That leads to your longest straightaway. Obviously, this longest straightaway is when you're going to get the most acceleration and the most time of your lap times out there. So if you get that turn right, and turn 10 behind us, you'll really be better as you go through the laps. Make sure you're scanning ahead for turn 1. You're scanning for the forward as your braking point. You're also scanning for the turn-in cone and apex. Remember to be firm on those brakes. And 3rd gear into turn 1. Making sure we're waiting for that turn-in cone and balancing with the brake as we turn. Clip that apex as much as you can and unwind and accelerate on your exit. Make sure, gentlemen, you're accelerating all the way to the turn-in cone, but at the turn-in, 4th gear, lift off the throttle, let her coast for a second, point to the apex cone, then smoothly roll into that throttle. Scanning ahead for turn 3. You're scanning for the floorboard to be braking at. Scanning for the apex on the right. Braking firm. Third gear. Waiting for the turn in. Balancing with the brakes. Get to that apex and accelerate on your exit. Unwind and steer down into that brake cone, entering the bowl. Long brake release as you come down. You want to treat this corner like a U shape with the car, so enter left up to the middle and exit left. I guess I should say apex left. Braking right at the curving here to the right, then left. Stay left for a second for the turn-in cone, then come to the right. Accelerate, unwind left, scanning for turn 8. Second gear in this corner, stay wide on your entry, let her coast mid-corner, then tight. So you're taking the corner a little tight already there, Robbie. Just make sure when we do those fast laps, you keep that wide line. All right, Robbie, let's go ahead and start your fast laps. Drive your own comfortable pace. That will adjust to you. I'll be pretty quiet on that first lap. Nice apex there, Robbie. Try to bring it back to the right-hand side for turn 3. You don't want to enter on the left into turn 3. Remember, you want to brake straight. So as you come out of turn 3, make sure you bring it back to the right for that white cone. Beautiful exit there, Robbie. Use up all those curvings. Stay wide here. Nice. Nice apex, Robbie. Okay, I want you to stay with me here. Stay on that throttle. Lift. Point. Yeah, don't get the throttle too early. You gotta leave the throttle for a second. Do a lift a little bit longer. So try not to miss that apex cone in turn 2. Nice entry speed here. You can get to that throttle a little bit more coming out of turn 3. Good. One more lap here, Robbie. A little early to your steering there, Robbie. So you gotta wait for that turning cone longer. Okay, so here for turn 2, just be careful with your throttle. Lift off of the turning cone. Let her coast for a second. Now accelerate. There you go. Okay, with that throttle here, stay with it and brake. There you go. Remember to release that brake a little bit slower. That'll help the car steer down at that apex. If you take a wider line on your entry into the S's, you'll actually get a better line into the end of the S's as well. Alright, we'll go ahead and slow down our pace here, Robbie. We're going to do our next rotation, the Glen. So you fall to the back there, Robbie. I want you to keep working on a longer brake release in the Volt. In the S's, add a little bit of steering to the right before you brake to take a wider line into that first S to the left. And that'll help you get a better straight into the turn-in cone. So right-hand side to me there, Robbie. Glenn right behind me, and then Robbie, you'll follow the red 55. Alright, go ahead and drive your own comfortable pace, and I'll adjust to you. I'll be pretty quiet on this first lap just to see what you do without my instruction here. Good. Try not to release the brake too early though into turn 3. Try to start releasing that brake a little bit later. There into the bowl. Try not to hug the inside the whole way. Try to come up a little bit higher on your entry to get a better exit. Two more laps here, Glenn. A little bit away to your steering there from turn 10. Just be careful with that. Remember, you want that perfect turn-in point for turn 10 for that long straight. Release that brake a little bit slower here, a little bit later. There you go. Tighten up that steering. Up to the middle, then down. A little bit better. You still want to come up a little bit higher initially. And same thing I was saying to Robbie is in the S's, you're taking the S's too tight and it's screwing up your exit. You take your initial steering into the entry of the S's a little bit wider, actually make you faster. We're going to slow down our pace here, Glenn, because we're catching the group in front of us. Let's pull over to the right-hand side of the street here, gentlemen. So, Glenn, what I mean by that is in the S's there at the top of the hill as you come out of the bowl, add a little bit of steering to the right before you brake, there in that apex, that first one on the right. Stay there for a second and then go left. So come left a little bit later so that way the car points to the turning cone on the left. Stay left for a second, then go to the right. So I'll kind of get you a little bit closer to me on this next lap since this one's already ruined since we had to get space from them. So I can really show you what I'm talking about. I'll wait for them to get a little bit closer here, Glenn, and then we'll get rolling. All right, Glenn and Robbie, go ahead and follow me left. Glenn, I got one more lap with you. Okay, your done really well on your entry into turn 1 and your exit of turn 1. However, you're losing a lot of time into turn 2 and your exit of turn 2. Try to follow my instructions here. Fourth gear right at the turn-in cone and lift off the throttle. Let her turn for a second and ease back into that throttle. Yep. Same thing. You start to release that brake too soon. So you got to release that brake later or else you're going to understeer and slow down the corner. Up to the middle with me. Then down. There you go. Bring her down. Bring her down. There you go. As soon as you're up in the middle, you don't want to stay there. So follow me here. A little steering to the right. Then left. There you go. So much better. So make sure you stay left for a second for the turn-in cone. Try not to go straight from apex to apex. We're going to slow down our pace. I'm going to rotate back to Robbie. We'll start our 2 laps per person now. Alright, Robbie, let's get 2 laps here. Let's fix this 60S's here. So a little steering right, then left. There you go. Steer a little bit more to the right initially before you brake, and that'll help you get a wider angle into that first S. Not too much more, only about 5 or 6 more degrees of steering wheel. Alright, one more lap here, Robbie. We're going to carry a little bit more speed on our exit of turn 2. So start rolling into that throttle here, Robbie. There you go. Make sure you don't get to the throttle mid-corner. Let her coast mid-corner. Once you're pointed to the apex, then accelerate. Alright, so the S is little steering to the right and left. Stay left for a second. There you go, just release that brake a little bit smoother. Alright, nice work there, Robbie. We're going to do our last rotation here, gentlemen. Alright, right hand side for me there, Robbie. And Glenn, we'll get your last 2 laps in here as well. And same thing there, Glenn, just drive your own comfortable pace. As soon as that car starts to point to the apex, you're good to roll to that throttle. go better on your entry there into turn 3. Release the brakes slower here. There you go. Work on the S's again. Good, much better. Your exit out of the end of the S's is looking better as well because of this. Nice. One more lap here, Glenn. A little bit earnest here on the entry. Gentlemen, that is the end of our session. We'll go ahead and slow down our pace and start our cool down lap. Alright, gentlemen, so good session there. That was our last track session. So I will go ahead and slow down the pace and drive through some of these corners and say goodbye to them on the way. A lot of improvements there, gentlemen, throughout the last 2 days. A lot of improvements with learning more about the car, learning more about the track, going beyond your comfortability and your driving limits as well throughout the last 2 days. After this, we'll head back into the classroom for your garage talk, and then our last exercise again will be your launch control. Alright, left blinkers here, gentlemen. Alright, gentlemen, once we get these cars parked, we're good to shut the cars off and roll the windows down. We're going to shut off the recordings as well. And then we'll head back into the classroom when you're ready.